Hello to everyone joining us on Facebook, YouTube, and Periscope. James Brierton, along with our friend Kit, who is on the right side of your screen there in our double box. Welcome to our special edition of the Carolina Weather Group. Happy Friday, by the way. It is the Friday before the Labor Day weekend, and before we say goodbye to summer, we do have a few storms that are rolling through the area. Matter of fact, if you've been with us on our social media platforms this afternoon, you've been looking at this screen all day. This is our interactive radar screen as we stream this out with real-time information from the National Weather Service. You can see right now North and South Carolina in both those views. So most part right now, South Carolina, with a few exceptions, is fairly quiet, but North Carolina has been getting quite the round of severe weather today. Matter of fact, if you were with us on Wednesday night when we had Brad Penovich on, or if you read Scotty's post on our website earlier today, then you know that the Storm Prediction Center did put out an advisory earlier today for what they call an enhanced risk for severe weather. This is essentially a 3 out of 5 on their scale. You've heard us talk about the scale before, marginal being kind of that lowest tier that you have to clear, and then slight, and then enhanced. So we're at 3 out of 5, and it was because we had a 10% chance of a tornado pretty much from an area that stretched from Charlotte to Raleigh. That bullseye has moved just a little bit further to the east, as I understand it, Kit, but that's exactly where those tornado warnings are that we're looking at right now.
Yeah, we've got several of them around the Raleigh area. A lot of there's one flash flood warning. There's several severe thunderstorm warnings. I'm looking at technically there's 3 tornado warnings, but one is split between 2 different county forecast areas. So the ones that I'm looking at now, I'll see if I can share my screen right fast, but if I can get this pulled up. But currently, we'll just share my full screen. All right, so I've got this in 2 windows. I'll put it just in the one right now, but if I turn on the county names, it looks like we've got this cell that's split between Hoke County and Robeson County. It's been tracking from like north of Laurinburg and headed towards South Fayetteville, in that general area.
That's exactly what I was about to ask, was trying to get my bearings here. So we're kind of coming into that Fort Bragg area right now. Right,
just south central Cumberland County right now. You can see Vander Air Force Base is right around this area. So it will be tracking towards sort of the northeast over the next half hour to hour or so. We can put this into a loop and it disappears on me. We'll just go ahead and stop that loop because it's going back a little bit too far to really tell. But you can see this is the direction it's been coming from. Like I said, coming out of Laurinburg, up through, looks like Shannon and Red Springs, heading towards, again, the South Fayetteville area. If we pan up a little bit, this is a little bit more messy here, but this is south and west of the Raleigh area. This is in Harnett County, and it has been tracking also northeast over the past about half hour or so.
And this is the one that's just south of Raleigh, is that right? Or was a little bit earlier?
The one that was just south of Raleigh has actually been canceled. This one's a little bit south and west of Raleigh.
Okay, because it was that one that was south of Raleigh that did have the history of actually someone observing a tornado. So I apologize for getting those two confused, but I guess the one that you're showing us right now, Kid, is actually going to kind of come in almost to that same area just south.
Right. It's just south of the same area where the last tornado warning was going through. It looks like that cell that had been producing that tornado warning, I can back it up, it has moved off to the northeast a good bit towards Middlesex, out sort of in the direction of Rocky Mountain. Not quite there yet. It's still a good ways out from there, but it sort of tracked just south of the Raleigh airport. And now we've got a second one in Harnett County to the south and west of there.
And I was just looking at National Weather Service chat, which you've probably heard us talk about before, and that allows us to see real-time communication from the National Weather Service coming in, just watching to see if we get any more ground reports as folks are continuing to watch that. In addition, Kit, what we are also watching right now is kind of line 2. So what Kit was just showing us is line number 1 that came on through today, and if you're in the Charlotte area, you saw it come on through a little bit earlier. Now it's coming through portions of the eastern part of the area, but what what we're watching right now is essentially line 2. So line 2 still has an active tornado watch. Tornado watch right now in effect for areas from Charlotte to Raleigh. And just as a reminder, a watch means that we are watching for severe weather conditions that could produce a tornado. And Kit's going to bring it up on his screen right now for me as I'm talking about it. Thank you very much, Kit. So this is line 2 coming into the Charlotte area. It does not have any warnings associated with it right now. So we have no tornadoes. We have no severe thunderstorm warnings associated with it. We did have a short time ago, just as we were prepping to start coming live with you here, a severe thunderstorm warning up towards Iredell County and Statesville. That warning was allowed to expire. So right now, this line 2 does have no warnings associated with it as it makes its way across portions of I-40 and I-77, making its way towards the construction zone at I-85. So if you are getting out of town on this holiday weekend and maybe going north out of Charlotte on I-85, making your way to, through Concord or Salisbury, just be aware that you will have this storm coming through in the next 30 minutes or so that's going to really slow you down in a construction zone that is already going to slow you down. But we will continue to keep an eye on that right now. Matter of fact, I'm just going to take a quick look here at the radar scope on my phone in front of me to see if we have any sort of rotation or anything with this particular line of storms. And luckily, I'm not seeing much in the way right now of any rotation on that. So it does seem, as Kit pans back to the east, we do have a lot of those tornado warnings still making their way both through the greater Fayetteville area coming into Fort Bragg and just south of Raleigh. So we will continue to monitor those. If you bear with me just a second, and I'll turn things over to Kit in the meanwhile, I'm going to go ahead and pull up Facebook Live because I know many of you are probably watching us on Facebook Live and you may be asking questions about your neck of the woods. So let me go ahead and look at some of those comments and we could try to answer some of them as we turn things back over to Kit with a look not only at tornado warnings, but also, Kit, looks like some severe thunderstorm warnings.
Right, James. We've got several heading out towards basically the eastern portions of Raleigh area. We've got Goldsboro, Sam Smith, Fremont, Wilson, Elm City, Western Rocky Mount, and Bunn all have this very large severe thunderstorm warning right now. If I can come over here, we can look at this program has frozen, so we can come over here to this one. I've got several programs open right now, so bear with me on that. But we can see that there is a very large. All right, I've got too many programs open right now,
including Google Hangouts.
So everything's just not working for me, but yeah. We'll just stick with this one right here. One thing that we can look at is we can pull up the warning. It says it's got 60-mile-an-hour wind gusts and quarter-size hail. So this is a baseline severe thunderstorm warning here. But what I'm looking at is I do see there's this sort of almost a Boeing feature. It may be false positive or whatever, but areas like Goldsboro, might be seeing some severe winds coming up here in the next 10 to 15 minutes at best. And then upwards towards the northern half of the severe thunderstorm warning, out towards Wilson, we'll be seeing that occasional lightning for a little bit, but then also the risk of that 60-mile-an-hour wind coming through. Additionally, with this secondary storm that's heading out of just north of Smithfield, that will be heading its way to the east towards Wilson over the next little bit. I'm going to see if I can switch back to the Raleigh radar over here, and I've got the county names. So this is around Johnson, Wayne, Wilson, Nash, and Franklin counties, and far eastern Wake County that this large severe thunderstorm warning extends through. Portions of Wake County around the Raleigh airport and just to the east of Raleigh. I can go ahead and switch and put the city names back on. You can see that Knightdale is definitely getting some heavy winds right now. Since it's just north of the radar, we can't really tell how fast those winds are, but it's definitely a thick thunderstorm coming through. We can sort of see, if we look down towards, like I was mentioning, Goldsboro earlier, this is that Boeing feature, and now that I look at the velocities, I can tell that it is gusting out pretty significantly. We look around here in Pikeville, it looks like we've got a bit of a microburst developing. We can look back over the past few scans and see that, yes, there has been a bit of a microburst going through with this storm. The radar velocities only show around 45 to 50 miles an hour. That's these brighter green colors, but it's down towards the surface. This is up at about 2,000, 3,000 feet towards the surface, those winds, as they're slamming into the ground, they could easily accelerate. You just saw that update there. It's still got that bowing feature.
And it may be worth noting,
so
we've talked about it before on the show, Kit, sometimes those straight line winds can be confused for tornado damage.
Right. So one thing that if the National Weather Service goes out and surveys this later, they'll be looking for, say, trees or wheat, corn, whatever, things falling down in sort of parallel lines in the same direction. And that's how you can tell that it was straight line winds rather than twisted, mangled limbs and whatnot that a tornado would do. Looking a little bit further east over towards, looks like Johnson County, just north of Smithfield, you sort of see a similar feature as over there in Pikeville. It's not quite as pronounced, but it's definitely some straight line winds heading towards the I-95 corridor around Kenling, just far south of Middlesex there, just to the east of Wilson Mills, looks like. Looking around other severe thunderstorm warnings, this one through Wake County down into Harnett County, it looks like it has started to move out of the furthest regions of that severe thunderstorm warning. But looking down towards Littleton, I bet they're keeping it active here in Harnett County because of this thunderstorm right here. I'm just going to pop this on really quickly. This product shows hail. I'm not seeing any of the yellow to red colors. That would indicate some significant hail. This indicator here shows only 0.61 inch. That's radar estimated within the cloud before it gets to the ground and starts melting. So hail is not an issue with any of these. It is definitely going to be the wind. This is just the radar. Heavy rain coming with this, and gusty winds upwards of 60 miles an hour.
And you read my mind there exactly, Kid, and I'm going to go ahead and put up on the screen for folks watching online a little side-by-side of exactly what you were just looking at here. So this is the storm that is just north of Goldsboro, and this is a scan of exactly what Kit was just showing you. So, you know, we do have a little bit of some ice crystals up there, but probably not enough to have warranted the warning in itself, but it is exactly those winds that he was telling you about there, because you remember, for a severe thunderstorm warning, we're going to need either quarter-size hail or 60-mile-per-hour winds, and of course 60-mile-per-hour winds are quite damaging. That's about the speed that you drive on the highway, and we just got a new scan in from the Raleigh radar, and you can see, yeah, we're not seeing a whole lot in terms of impressive ice crystals there or hail, Kit, so I think you're right. I think this is definitely going to be a wind event for folks who are in this severe thunderstorm warning. So that, again, this is just north of Goldsboro. This is coming through areas like Pikeville, so we do have a severe thunderstorm warning here for the next 30 minutes or so, so that'll take us to about 7 o'clock. Let's go back over to Kit's screen. He's got a little bit of larger review of the Raleigh metro area as we're watching numerous severe thunderstorm warnings and tornado warnings.
Right, thanks, James. One thing I want to do real quick is I'm going to turn off county names just to make it a little bit easier to see, but all of these thunderstorm warnings, or thunderstorms really, are sort of shifting to the north and east. This is a loop of the radar of the past about 30 minutes or so. Or it's actually a 15-minute loop. Let's see if I can get a little bit more data, but a few tornado warnings with it. They are starting to cancel. Just eventually a tornado warning will blow itself out. But most of these storms are heading towards the north and east, looking at areas like Rocky Mount, Lewisburg, eventually Roanoke Rapids. Williamstown, it doesn't look like there's any immediate threat for some severe thunderstorm warnings, but there's definitely lots and lots of rain associated with this. We see around the Raleigh metro area there is a flash flood warning. Let's see if I can't figure out
Yeah, I was just pulling up totals myself as I was taking a look at that, and I might be able to assist you as you're pulling up some graphics there. I mean, we had several bands come on through, but you tell me if your numbers are kind of matching initially what I'm looking at here on my device. But it looks like we're talking a good maybe 2 inches of rain in some places, maybe 3.
Yeah, I'm trying to see if I can find that same product on my own.
Yeah, I've
but
got it here
I'm
on
not-
my end. So let me, while you're looking for yours, Kit,
Yeah,
let me go
okay.
ahead and pop it up here for folks who are watching us again here at 6:30. This is a special edition of the Carolina Weather Group. Thanks for joining us on Facebook and Periscope and YouTube. We're watching severe weather across North Carolina mainly, with a few warnings back across South Carolina today. And I'm going to do a whole reset for us here in just a second. Also, a lovely text message. Hey, shout outs to Steve Greco here for telling us about StarCraft is currently free on the Blizzard app. This is why I didn't want to use my phone. I was going to try to use my tablet in case that happened, and there you have it. All right, so we are looking back towards the Raleigh area. Matter of fact, let me see if I can set the scene here a little bit for you and find out exactly where some of the major cities are. And we pull out a little, we can see. So we got Raleigh here, just back up towards our north. So we do have this flash flood warning that is in effect for the next 2.5 hours or so. That does mean that water is rising fairly quickly in some places. I know immediately out of a week we've had, you might be picturing images like you've seen out of Houston. We're not talking about that type of flooding here in the Raleigh area, but we are talking about areas that may be prone to flooding, have some low drainage areas, or if your backyard lines up to a creek. We're talking about these natural waterways that are used to take the water and flow it downstream, but when you get so much rain so much quickly, you can have those banks come up a little bit, and you may begin to notice them depending on where you live in your backyard or along some areas of roadway. So again, if you're looking at these purple areas here, those are about 2 inches of rain or so. And matter of fact, if I widen the picture back out, we can see this is not only Raleigh we've been talking about, but we even have some farther north. So if I make my way, and again, these are radar estimated, these are measurements that the radar is taking in the sky. We did have earlier today several rounds of storms exiting the Charlotte area, kind of going up I-85 up towards the Concord area, and you can see radar estimates there of about 3 to 4 inches. So this goes throughout the entire day, and this is the perspective from the particular Raleigh radar that we're looking at right now. But I'm going to go ahead and do you have a storm report there for us, Kit?
Yeah, I've got a storm report right here. It's a heavy rain storm report. It's just east, or excuse me, west of Clayton, North Carolina. That's south and east of Raleigh. Rain total since 5 p.m. So this is about an hour and a half of rain. 4 inches reported here. So 4.14 it looks like is what they have recorded. So definitely a lot of rain falling. I can put this into a quick loop. It may not, yeah, it's not going to really show up for a little bit, but while this loads, we can look over here. All of these storms have been sort of running over the same spots, dumping heavy rain. I guess some of these were probably around 3 inches an hour or so. That's a quick math estimate there, just from an hour and a half of 4 inches of rain, that'd be about 3 inches an hour. So lots and lots of rain coming down with these storms. Let's see if that's pulled up yet.
Matter of fact, National Weather Service right now out of Raleigh giving us new numbers. Just 3 miles west of Clayton is where they made this measurement at Johnston City from a trained volunteer storm spotter. He reports rain there of about 4 inches as of about 5 o'clock. So he may have even a little bit more since he took that measurement.
Right. It's just a little bit ago that he made that report. But what I've got up here right now is around a 2.5, 3 hour loop. We can see this storm here, this was a confirmed tornado and then started to fade away. Anything in red here is a tornado warning, but if it shows up as purple, like here, that's a confirmed tornado. So just so you understand all these colors. But this cell here is a very well-defined supercell, but that moved through the Clayton area that's right there, and then the secondary line came through. So you see Clayton, where that storm report came from, had heavy rain earlier with some hail, about an inch to an inch and a half, and then now they're getting much heavier rain. And if I stop this and put it to the end here, you can see that it's still getting a significant amount of rain, and has been for past hour and a half, 2 hours easily. Looking off to the west, we see there's a secondary line. This will eventually make its way through the Piedmont. Whether or not it will stay together and stay very heavy rain till it gets to the Raleigh metro, that's still a little bit up in the air. We can take a look at that here in a minute, but definitely a lot of rain, but there should be a little bit of clearing around the Raleigh area and Clayton within the next hour or so. I would say that would be when backside of this line makes it through.
And, the other thing we're watching for here when you get this amount of rain is not only some street flooding or some flooding in low-lying areas, but we're also watching for storm reports of trees down. We had numerous trees reported down in South Charlotte earlier today as storms came through. But what's actually really catching my eye right now, and this is in Lee County, just outside of Sanford, they do not have a flash flood warning. They have what we call an aerial flood advisory, which is kind of just a preliminary lower tier. Yes, we had a lot of rain. Yes, you're seeing a lot of runoff. We have several reports there of thunderstorm wind damage. This goes from the time period of about 3, 4, 5 o'clock this afternoon, but a couple of these storm reports are really catching my eye, and I'll explain why here in a second. But 2 structures reported damage with roof damage, numerous trees down on the north end of the city. And what we're seeing here is not only, of course, we had a thunderstorm that came on through with really strong winds, but when you have a lot of rain that's also saturating the ground, if you do have some weaker trees or some trees with not as dense of a root network, they're going to be sitting kind of in mud or softer soil. So when that wind blows, if their foundation isn't as tough, you may start to see those topple, and I think that's exactly what we might be seeing here in Lee County, North Carolina. This is just outside that Raleigh area.
Exactly. We've got, I can pull that up real quick again. If I just screen share, maybe I should just keep
I'm going to give you a second to pull that up, because also what I want to do for us right now is kind of just do a reset for anyone who's joining us. It's about 6:40, and James and Kit here with you on the Carolina Weather Group. I'm going to go ahead and change my background. TV magic. There we go. Here is our Carolina Weather Group radar from CarolinaWeatherGroup.com, and this is going to show you both North and South Carolina. So South Carolina, again, if you're watching us from upstate down towards Columbia, things are fairly dry right now. You did get a little bit of this first line that came on through earlier today, and this is that first line right now that is just exiting the Raleigh area, just making its way through the Fayetteville, Fort Bragg area, and we're still watching a few remaining storms with that line as it makes its way towards I-95. We're also watching the second line right now, which is a little bit weaker than the first line, make its way through the Charlotte area. We don't have any warnings with that, but if you are anywhere underneath my hand from Charlotte back towards Raleigh, you still remain under a tornado watch. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to scroll down a little bit on our Carolina Weather Group weather page here, and this is at the bottom, and you may have seen these if you've been to our website. But at the bottom here, we have the 3-day outlook from the Storm Prediction Center. We've talked about it on the show before. The Storm Prediction Center in Norman, Oklahoma is in charge of issuing these categorical outlooks that kind of help us understand what the threat is going to be. So this right now is our active one for day 1. We are live and in day 1, and you can kind of see right now in the Carolinas we have a couple different colors going on here. So this lighter green, this is just general thunderstorms. That's what you think about on a summer afternoon. And then we start to make our way into the tiered system. So this first kind of green one here is called marginal. That is 1 out of 5. Next one is slight, and that is 2 out of 5. And then we even have this bullseye right here. This is kind of a darker orange. That is 3 out of 5, and that is called enhanced. So not only do we have these categorical outlooks, but we can also look at some particular threats across the area. So we can ask the Storm Prediction Center why they think they're going to give these category outlooks, and the reason that they gave them today primarily, among a few other reasons, was tornadoes. So I know these numbers are really hard to see here back behind me, but this yellow one here is a 10% chance of a tornado. Now, if you are looking at your forecast on any given day and there's a 10% chance of a rain shower in the afternoon, you may not take your umbrella out. But if there's a 10% chance of a tornado, we have a tornado warning. I'm going to go back over to Kit in a second. That tornado warning, 10%, that is pretty high risk. And we talked about that on Wednesday night with Brad Penovich. We do have a new tornado warning talking about the threat of seeing some storms. So let's go over to Kit, who has it up on radar for us. Kit?
Yeah, so I'm trying to find when I just heard it from another app. I'm trying to wait for it to pop up, but it said for Robeson County, I believe.
All right, I have a chat up.
I've been looking at that'd be a good thing to have up now. This storm around Goldsboro. It might be this one that they were issuing it for, but right here over Goldsboro, we were talking about this city earlier. You can see I've sort of got a double panel here. Right here, just south of Eureka, we've got these red velocity returns. That's a gust front, but to the south here, we've got a little bit of rotation, but it looks like this is not the storm they issued it for. I can zoom out a little bit more.
It does look like that they
I'm
continued the tornado warning to the south there until about 6:45. This is making its way. This is just towards that I-95 corridor, coming into about St. Paul's.
Yes, but the tornado warning that was just issued is for North Dakota. So,
okay.
My program doesn't
a different North
doesn't
state.
just do one.
Well,
state.
hold that shot there for just a second, Kit. And what we're looking at here, we do have a little bit of a signature, not a very well defined one, but enough on both your reflectivity and your velocity. So what Kit is circling there right now on the right side of the screen looks at winds. So we're looking at winds coming towards the radar and away from the radar, and where they kind of contrast or differ is where we're watching for that possible tornado. And he's got his mouse cursor on it right now, just north of Parkton. What you're looking at on your left is probably the radar you're accustomed to looking at. That's kind of the reflectivity. That kind of gives us an idea of how much moisture and precipitation there is in the air. But the thing that Kit is kind of curving there with his mouse, as we do get a new scan, it was kind of that edge, and that's kind of exactly where that tornado fits into that scan. So we still have it a little bit, but Kit, from scan to scan, I would say maybe not so much. It's still there. There's definitely still a little bit of an inlet.
It's starting to look a little bit better from the start of the tornado warning.
Okay.
This was the one that was sort of split between county forecast areas. But it looks like it's starting to organize a little bit. I can go up a couple of tilts.
And I just figured out exactly why it's split, because it's right on the line of two National Weather Service offices. So I need to actually log into a separate chat myself to get some additional information.
Right. That should be LTX. That's Wilmington.
Yeah, I think it's ILM. Does that sound right?
Right. Yes.
What Kit and I are talking about are the local offices. You know, there's one in Greensville, Spartanburg. There's one in Raleigh. There's one in Wilmington. And they are charged of different counties, and we were right up on the border.
Right. This supercell is sort of splitting, riding the fence. It doesn't know which way it wants to go. But I've got sort of a box in the middle of each of these panels that's sort of denoting the center of each panel. And it's useful whenever I've got two panels like this because I can show what I'm looking at exactly. But you can compare these two. This is probably going to be extended. Yep. Yeah, Rutherford, Burke County tornado warning. I'll pan over there. But
back in the Charlotte neck of the woods, Burke County, or different Burke County?
Burke County and Rutherford County and mountains of North Carolina.
Oh, okay.
Just right here. But this one, north of Parkton, it will probably be continued to the north and east, just south of Cumberland and Hope Mills in the next little bit. But zooming over here.
Yeah, I'm going to zoom to it, because that one we were just looking at, I do want to let folks know, it does look like it will expire or is probably about to expire. So we do have that fresh tornado warning that is just out.
Right. This one goes until 7:15 p.m. So definitely capable of producing. Yeah, this is this is a classic foothill tornado setup. It doesn't have that hook that we were just discussing for the one out there towards the plains, but you can see on the velocity turn, and even now in this most recent update, you can somewhat see a little bit of that hook shape in the darkest red of the reflectivity. But right here we see these sort of orange-yellow colors. Those are moving faster away from the radar than these sort of blood red and gray colors. So it's definitely got a little bit of rotation with it. And one thing I can look at here, this is just normalized rotation. It gets rid of everything. And whenever you start seeing these blues show up, then it's a good notation that there is rotation. You could have a possible tornado. Put the velocities back on. But it looks like they didn't really include, what is this, McDowell County? Yeah, they did not include McDowell County.
Yeah, just
because it's just going to head right to the edge. But you can sort of see, just on the topology, I turned off the radar, but you can see that there's this ridge of mountains right here. These are the South Mountains of Burke County, right up there in Rutherford County and northern Cleveland County. These just spawn tornadoes for whatever reason. Whenever they're coming up from the southeast, they tend to just get a little bit of rotation in them. And whenever you put on the radar, you can see it's riding right along that ridge. There's no real resistance from the mountains to the south here in Rutherford and Cleveland counties, but these mountains produce a lot of interference there, and so it can spin up a tornado with that. And we can see here on the velocities, you've got faster winds to the south of the mountains, slower winds to the north, and that's where you get that rotation from.
Yeah, and if you are just listening to us, depending on where you are right now, just to recap, the National Weather Service has issued a new tornado warning for northeastern Rutherford County and south central Burke County until 7:15. The storm, as Kit has been showing you on radar, is about 10 miles north of Rutherfordton and about 9 miles north of Spindale. It's moving northeast at 30 miles per hour. They don't have any eyes on it right now. This is radar-indicated rotation, as Kit has been showing you, and they will be closely monitoring this, as you should too, if you are for some reason or heading to for the holiday weekend in South Mountain State Park or Salem. This storm's going to be in your area by about 7:10, and then if they were to continue it into Salem, into Morganton, and across I-40, it would continue that way. But hopefully, Kit, this is maybe something short-lived. But right now, like you said, we are seeing a little bit of rotation there on that radar.
Right, and I've on this right panel, there is something turned on here. I turned on the hail indicator, and it really doesn't look like there's any hail associated with it. The only thing that this warning is for, well, it's a tornado warning. It's the potential for this a tornado heading through this area. It's slightly sparsely populated, as this is going into a state park area. But like James said, if you're heading out to that area right now this evening, might want to delay those plans a little bit. But as this continues, it will have to fight these mountains, which it's difficult for a tornado to make its way through mountains, but it is possible. So places like Valdez eventually might be keeping in mind that there could be a tornado heading that direction. But right now,
I'm sorry, Kate, we have a little bit of a delay going back and forth between the two of us, so I apologize that I keep stepping on you, but you were mentioning South Mountain State Park. If you are heading out, or anytime you're heading out and there's a chance of severe weather, it's really important you take a weather radio with you, because you may not have cell phone coverage. There are some great apps out there, some of them we've talked about right here on Carolina Weather Group, but matter of fact, we do have a new warning of some sort coming in, and the weather radio will do just this.
The National Weather Service in Greenville, Spartanburg,
looks like Iredell County. Yep, right here. I'm getting that in my ear as well, but this is northern Mecklenburg, southeastern Iredell, northwestern Cabarrus. I'm quizzing myself on counties in North Carolina. Rowan County, central Rowan County, and southern Davie County. Not quite into the county which Lexington resides. That's the end of my knowledge of those counties. But
good job.
One thing I'm looking at right now is in just north of Huntersville here. Granted, this is more than a mile and a half up. Problem.
Yeah.
I will complain about that later, but there is a little bit of mid-level rotation showing up on the storm just south of Cornelius, north of Huntersville. Heading towards, I'm not seeing Enochsville, sort of heading in the direction of Enochsville right now. But you can see, if I back this up a little bit, there has been a history of rotation with this storm. You've got some outbound winds here of 70 miles an hour. We see it updated there. So still around 70 miles an hour for the maximum winds there, just to the east of Huntersville. So these are high winds. And you can see, I'll put that little box right over those bright yellows on the right hand. If we look over here, just around Huntersville, you've got heavy, heavy rain coming down, around 2.5, 3 inches an hour. And that can mix down those really fast winds that we're seeing here around 60 to 70 miles an hour. So once those get to the ground, you can get very gusty winds, and they can knock down trees, break some limbs or whatever. So that's why they've just issued this severe thunderstorm warning. It goes until 7:30 p.m. And it's heading northeast at 50 miles an hour. So it's definitely moving quickly with strong winds associated with it. James?
Listening, my weather radio is going off again. We couldn't have timed that more perfectly here as we were talking about everything that was going on. I'm going to go ahead and just do a quick reset here. If you are just joining us here on the Carolina Weather Group online, James and Kit with you. Thank you so much for tuning in. So from west to east, we do have a tornado warning. This is just south of the Morganton area. It does affect portions of Burke County for the next few minutes. We'll continue to keep an eye on that. That is radar indicated. They're seeing a little rotation with it. We don't have eyes on the ground just yet, but we were watching them. Matter of fact, if at any point, no matter where you are, you're in a position where you can safely report severe weather, it's crucial that you do that if you're able to do that via Twitter or other means that you may have. We do have, and this is pretty tall. I'm going to measure here in just a second, but we do have this new severe thunderstorm warning that goes from the Huntersville area, just north of Charlotte, up kind of almost parallel to the I-85 corridor, kind of wedged in between 85 and 77. This is a severe thunderstorm warning. That means quarter-size hail is possible, 60-mile-per-hour winds are possible, and this right here, roughly speaking, and I don't know if radar scope is going to allow me to measure on an angle, but it's almost about 40 miles from that bottom right corner to that top left corner. So quite a few folks may find themselves either traveling through or residing within this. Mooresville, Salisbury, Kannapolis, you are all within this warning as it extends its way up, and we'll watch to see what happens there. Making our way back out towards the Raleigh area, we were talking about this a little bit earlier as Kit steps away. We do have no longer any tornado warnings out towards the Raleigh area, but as I switch radar sources, you can see we do still have a severe thunderstorm warning. This is going to expire in 6 minutes unless they continue it, and this includes areas like Wilson and Rocky Mount and Goldsboro. So we will watch to see if they do decide to continue that one or not. But the other thing that we are watching in the Raleigh area, and you can see it outlined here in this green box, is that flash flood warning. So if you are traveling, do watch for some flooding, some pooling of water in some low-lying areas. But I think right now what is catching our eye is not the expiring warnings, but the new fresh warnings back across the Charlotte area, and this is exactly why they did not drop that tornado watch that extend from Charlotte to Raleigh. Even after that first line came on through, they left that watch up in case we did get some more storms back behind it, and that's exactly what we're seeing. The other thing I'm going to note right now, we have a lot of storm warnings coming in. I'm going to go ahead and activate at the bottom of our screen as you're watching online our little ticker system here so that you can better get an idea of all of these different warnings, watches, and advisories across the area. As I pop Kit back up on the screen, you can see those are scrolling there just below his chin, so feel free to glance at those as we try to show you some of the most prominent ones up on the screen as we go on through, and we'll try to keep that on the screen as much as possible. Kit, what else is catching your eye right now?
I'm still looking at that Huntersville storm right now. If I can pop up over here and share my screen once more, it looks like it has mid-level rotation to it a little bit, not necessarily enough yet to warrant a tornado warning, but it's one of those things that you want to monitor, because whenever you have a severe thunderstorm warning, on a technicality, you can't have a tornado with it, and that does verify because tornado is considered as severe weather. But looking at it right now, it's more broad rotation, and we need it to be a lot closer. So you can see these on the right-hand side of the screen. You can see these yellows and reds that are far away from these greens. So the rotation is very broad. You need that, basically this green color to be right next to the yellow, sort of like how these are here, but a little bit faster to warrant a radar confirmed tornado. So far it is only severe thunderstorm warning, so we'll just keep an eye on that. But I can scooch over here to the Rutherford and Burke County tornado warning that currently is in effect until I believe 7:15 p.m. It's been tracking towards the northeast along the ridge of the South Mountains in Rutherford County and Burke County. It should expire by the end of it because it looks like it will be going right through the mountains, which tends to break them apart, but we will keep watching this as the radar starts to update. It's sort of messy, but it's enough to warrant the warning. So we definitely want to keep that in mind, but again, there's not any large population centers in the path of the storm immediately. Panning around the area, we've got southern Rutherford County, parts of Cleveland County, Gaston County, Lincoln, and Catawba County that all have just small thunderstorms right now. We can sort of see there's a little bit of a boundary right here. I'm wondering how that's going to play in later towards Chester and Lancaster counties over here. But once again, if we take a look at this storm, I'm getting notification on my ear.
Yeah, and we are watching a little bit of rotation with that thunderstorm that Kit is showing you on the screen right now, which is not atypical. You know, a thunderstorm is going to have a little rotation to it, but we are watching just because of the nature of the atmosphere today for a possible spin up within that. And the other thing that Kit, I will applaud him. Tried very hard to not climb up on his soapbox to talk about radar before, but I'm going to go ahead and do it anyway, Kit. That warning is kind of in that neck of the woods that we don't like. We have radars in Greenville, Spartanburg, South Carolina. We have full power radars in Raleigh and in Columbia, and to our north in Roanoke. They extend out about 100 miles or so, but what happens is as they go out, I think it's, what is it, a maximum? I think it's like 150 miles before it's really just not of any help. But what happens is, because the Earth is curved, as those beams go out, they get higher and higher and higher. All of those cities I just noted to you are a good 90 miles away from Charlotte, so by the time the beam gets to us, we're only slicing the atmosphere at about 8,000 at the lowest level, which means from the ground to 8,000, we can't see on radar, which is why storm spotters and volunteers are so important. One of the things that Kit and I are watching is the National Weather Service chat. The National Weather Service is in there, along with emergency operators, broadcast folks who have reporters and crews on the scenes, but also those ham radio operators, those storm spotters are in here. They are on the ground, safely looking up at the sky saying, I am seeing X, Y, or Z. And so if you do live up in that neck of the woods, it's very crucial that we get information like that, because while we do have radar coverage and we're showing it to you here, it is not as ideal as I think a lot of us would like it to be.
And see, there is one that's
I'm going to cut you off 1 second. I'm
older.
going to need to cut you off because we do have a new tornado warning for the exact location we were just talking about, and that might be exactly what you were trying to get to, Kit. This is for Cabarrus and Rowan until 7:30. We'll give your screen there a second to update. I'm just seeing this now coming down National Weather Service chat, and as you can hear on the radio behind me. So, do you have it there on your screen?
I'm getting it in my ear over you, so I'm thinking that's what you're asking me, but it should update here in just a moment. There's a little bit of delay from when the National Weather Service issued it.
So one of the things I am going to do, and I'm going to take a quick look here, and I want folks at home to be able to look with me, so I'm going to go ahead and put my screen up here for just a moment. I'm using Radar Scope. We do have a radar in Charlotte here. It's kind of a low power, so just to continue on that conversation we were having a second ago, and I'm just kind of getting a hot mess of data from that right now, but as I'm waiting for that warning to pop up on my screen, do you have it yet on yours, Kit? If not, you do.
I do, and this includes areas, once it gets into Rowan County, once I-85 gets into Rowan County, that I-85 corridor is within the warning. The immediate cities that we can see here, I'm going to put it just on one panel to make it easier to see, but the possible tornado would be down here just outside of Cornelius and Concord. You can see this hail indicator. It would be just basically at the end of the box of the text there in this area as it's heading into far northeastern Cabarrus County. Now, the cities that would be in the immediate path of this possible tornado would be northeast Cabarrus, Kannapolis, along Mooresville Road, possibly south 1430, just a state highway here. I don't have an actual name for it, but Enochville, and the full area of Enochville could possibly see this tornado. Another place is Landis. China Grove is well within the warning. Let's see here, Salisbury is at the very far end. It'd probably be around 20 to 30 minutes. We can see how long this goes for. It goes until 7:30 p.m. So Salisbury would be under a potential threat of seeing a tornado within the next 20 to 30 minutes, depending on how fast the storm is moving. It's moving around 50 miles an hour, I believe, if I saw that correctly. Yes, moving northeast at 50 miles per hour. So, again, Enochville would be the first place that we would see a tornado, and it's difficult to see because it's a little bit messy from the Greenville-Spartanburg radar. But if we back it up a few frames, you can see this is what we were looking at earlier. This rotation here along State Highway 73 is we've got this rotation, and as it approaches these bad returns on the radar, it's tracking sort of to the northeast, like we've been saying, right here into Cabarrus County. There's not really any full city center in this area, but we pop on the reflectivity once more. Put on normalized rotation. Yeah, it's enough to warrant the warning here, but
yeah,
nothing significant.
I'm going to go ahead. You've been looking at the Greenville-Spartanburg radar, I believe, and I have up behind us here kind of a similar view. This is from the Raleigh perspective, so now we're looking at the storm in the direction that it's heading, and what Kit was just describing to you is kind of this area right here. You see where the greens and almost the blues and some whites start to come together. We're watching for that to exactly come into this warning polygon here and just go to the north of Kannapolis, and that's why, again, we are watching for this possibility of a tornado. A couple things that I think we haven't yet mentioned during today's coverage that I want to make sure we do get out there is, Kit and I are here with you on Facebook. We're on Periscope, and we are on, what's the other one? YouTube, Facebook, and Periscope. Do trust your local meteorologist in your home market, and in Charlotte, and Greensboro, and Raleigh, and all these areas right now that do have these warnings activated. If you see a warning in your neck of the woods, feel free to tune to one of those channels that has a full staff of meteorologists on hand right now to keep an eye on this, as we will continue to offer this stream as an option for you, depending on where you are and what accessibilities you have if you don't have television near you or whatnot. But I wanted to mention that as well too. The other thing that I don't think we've mentioned yet, Kit, is what to do in the case of a tornado warning. So if you have a basement, you want to go down into that basement, because a tornado warning means that a tornado is occurring or is imminent. If you don't have a basement, then we're talking as low in your house as you can go, as center, away from windows and doors. We do have a new tornado warning. We have 3 active right now. This one is outside that Goldsboro area. It's that same cell we were looking for before. This is the Greene, Lenoir, and Pitt counties of North Carolina. This is until 7:30. So I see Kit is moving his radar back out to that Raleigh source, to that Greensboro, to that Goldsboro area.
Goldsboro.
Yes, you are correct, and I will let you take it from there.
In just a moment. It should pop up here in just one moment, but like James was saying earlier, we were monitoring really a severe thunderstorm warning earlier. As it was developing. We see it just now popped up here. It looks like it is, I think you mentioned just today, mostly in Greene County, partially the far northern portions of Lenoir County and the far western portions of Pitt County. That's outside of Greenville. So we see here, earlier it was a pretty well-defined hook, but it did not yet have that warning on it. But this is the area of rotation. It's just sort of south of the US 13 highway corridor, due east of New Hope, and sort of east or west-southwest of Snow Hill. So this is the center of rotation here. This would be where the possible tornado could be, but you can see all of these, and just updated a little bit, along this area, and we've got a little bit of rotation threshold, so this means that it's got some good mid-level support on the radar showing up, so that could be a more likely area for a tornado to be popping out. It looks like it's tracking just south of Snow Hill, but Hookerton would be the direction it might be going in the next 15 to 30 minutes as we sort of rock the radar back and forth a little bit. You can see it's tracking sort of from the corner of my screen to a little bit north of east, due east here. So Hookerton would be a potential area for seeing a potential tornado here. This has not been confirmed, but radar indicates that it is having some pretty good rotation. We can see that in the mid-levels of the storm, going up, beaming up and down through the storm here. And you can see that it's sort of... Right, so what I'm looking at, I'm trying to look at it and think through it as I talk. But
well, yeah, let me give you a second to look at that, Kit, because I'm also going to give you a second. We got a little crackle in your headset, and I think you're hearing it back when I'm talking to you as well. So I'll give you a second to see if maybe you can resolve that as you take a look at that radar image there too, and begin to decipher. So again, here at about 7:06, we have 3 active tornado warnings across North Carolina right now, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pull up our radar here from the Carolina Weather Group to show you exactly where those 3 are. They do stretch from all different portions of the state, but we do have one over the foothills of North Carolina in Burke County. We also have one just to the north and to the east of the Charlotte area. This is going to be for the cities of Kannapolis. And then we do have that one that Kit was just talking about, and this is the newest of them that did just come in. That is a tornado warning just prior to Greenville. So it is just to the west of Greenville and to the east of Goldsboro, and we're going to watch for those. Again, we don't have any confirmed tornadoes on the ground. What we have is radar-indicated rotation, so we can slice the atmosphere with those radar beams. We can take a look at which way the winds are moving, and we're clearly seeing some rotation with those, and that's why they've issued all 3 of those warnings to advise folks in those areas to get to their safe place. Kit, are you hearing us a little bit better?
I am hearing you a little bit better. Is my microphone working?
Yeah, you're sounding good. So I think right now what we're looking at with this latest storm is that as it moves and it is moving to the northeast at 35 miles an hour, this is going to impact potentially Greenville and Grifton and Snow Hill, Belle Arthur, Murray, Jason, Roundtree, Lizzie, Shine, and this is also near the Fort Run Volunteer Fire Department.
This is the one outside of Greenville you were talking about?
Yeah, that's correct. That is the latest of the 3 warnings we have right now as we are kind of continuing to look at those here on our screen. I'm going to go ahead and direct maybe your radar back up here momentarily so you can walk us through those as well as I just kind of fumble through my monitors.
All right. So we have gotten a more recent update, and the radar program I've got up has several algorithms that sort of reads the radar for us, and it looks like we've just gotten this is a TVS, tornado vortex signature.
Yeah.
It tends to show that the tornado or the thunderstorm is becoming more organized through the column of the storm. We can see just south of Snow Hill here, where you see this upside down triangle. This is where you've got that hook echo on the left hand side of your screen. This is a very classical signature of a potential tornado. We can see over here on the velocities on the right-hand side, again, just around this inverted triangle, you've got the fast leaving the green. The green colors are leaving the radar. The reds are going towards the radar. And this is, I'm sorry, that's backwards, but either way, these colors in this proximity indicates that there's good rotation with this thunderstorm. So this is sort of the mesocyclone, the full rotation. So if you're in this area around Snow Hill, if you looked to the south a little bit, you might would see a rotating wall cloud. And it looks sort of like this drop in the bottom of the cloud base that is about halfway down towards the ground sometimes. It might be around a third of the way to the ground, but it will be rotating, and you will probably see just a slightly ominous looking cloud here. But from there, from that wall cloud, we tend to produce the tornado, or at least a funnel cloud.
We were talking about that a little bit earlier, trying to explain to folks exactly what they were looking at there on radar, and this is an even better example, right where that little triangle is, where those greens and those reds come together.
Right, so zooming in just as close as possible here, we've got these winds coming out here around 28 to 30 as it updates here. I can just pop it right back. All right. Got a little bit of an update on the radar. This updates about every 2.5 minutes at this lowest level. But here again, we've got these, that that algorithm is still trying to calculate it, but I'm going to go ahead and say that right around here, sort of due south and southwest, right where you see that red square now, that would be the area approximately of where the tornado would be. But I've got winds here going outwards around 40 miles an hour, going inwards around 20. So within a few thousand feet, you've got winds that are rotating around 60 miles an hour very quickly. And so that's the shear is what's going to cause that rotating column there that produces the tornado. So that's what we're tracking right there. We can zoom out a little bit and we can look towards the path. So it looks like this will be passing north of Hookerton. I was mentioning that town earlier. This rotation is passing just to the south.
Hey, Kid, I'm going to interrupt you for just a second. We have a new tornado warning just issued by the National Weather Service back in the Charlotte area. This is for Cabarrus, Mecklenburg, and Rowan. So let me go ahead and put this up on the screen. As you can hear the weather radios going off in my own household here in the Charlotte area. This is going to be just to the south, but a little bit larger of a polygon than the one you see on the screen right now. So we have to wait for this to update, just like we were waiting before when the new information came in, but we're literally looking at it and relaying it to you. So this is going to stretch now from, let me take a look at it here. This is going to be the North Charlotte area. So this does include a portion of that 485 area. And if I go ahead and I push in, you can kind of see this is the area for all intensive purposes that right now is on my screen in a severe thunderstorm warning. In a moment here, we're going to see that we have a new polygon that includes Huntersville and a tornado warning for that area. And again, we have a little bit of a radar hole here. We can use this terminal Doppler radar for the Charlotte airport to kind of get a kind of an idea of what's going on, but it doesn't quite have all the same tools. But in a moment here, again, we're going to have a new tornado warning. This includes portions of northern Charlotte. It does not include uptown, but it does include folks who are north of 85, and this extends as far north in not only Mecklenburg, but we also have portions of Cabarrus and Rowan, and does now include the city of Salisbury and Concord and that entire 85 corridor. So this will be going until 7:45, and Kit has it up on his monitor. Let's go over to Kit for some analysis on what he's seeing on radar, and I'll start by asking Kit, which radar are you looking at?
This is the Greenville-Spartanburg radar. It's a little bit confusing because it's
not the clearest picture in that neck of the woods.
Right, but this program that I've got up here, I've switched programs because I didn't want to switch the radars. It takes too long to load. But we've got a little bit of just aliasing, so like all this green within this dark red, it's tough to say, but yeah. Okay, yeah, no, that's probably legit there. Let's see if
legit. That's the official meteorology term for possibly a tornado.
Well, yes.
Yeah. Well,
what I was looking at.
Go ahead.
I was thinking this might have been aliased, but it isn't. That's going from 0 to outbound. So this program is nice because it says you've got the 9 miles an hour outgoing away from the radar, 3 miles away from the radar, and then 4 miles an hour towards the radar. So you can see this is right as it changes from going away and going in towards. So this is where that tornado would possibly be forming around this area. And we've got a color glitch going here.
One of the things I'm also going to take a look at while you're talking is I was hoping to pull up traffic cameras. But I think due to the I-77 toll lane extension, they're all offline. So I apologize for cutting you off. I was hoping to get some eyes on the ground, but they are all showing me a lovely shade of blue offline, so carry on.
Well, we can sort of see these brighter greens over here to the southeast of Huntersville as I wait for this. There we go. So these are pretty fast winds right here, but it looks like it's like I was trying to say, that aliasing. So these incoming right next to the outgoing, these are very fast outgoing. So I'm looking here. This is 61 miles an hour and then 56, 49, 40. So this would be around 80 miles an hour going away from the radar. Then you have to do some interpolation here with the radar because these are not incoming. These are very rapidly going to the northeast. And I wish I knew how to draw, because there's a draw feature on this program, but I've never figured out what button to press to draw. But anyway, you can sort of see the direction of where the radar is going with these rectangles. Along the short side of the rectangles is the direction. Yeah, we can put this in motion here. You see the track of this storm. This is the lower portion of the storm. We see the northern portion has the original tornado warning for this area of Cabarrus and Rowan counties. But now here in northern Mecklenburg County, we have this purple in this program. Bear with me. This purple indicates a tornado warning, and we can see that here with these two. Now, the original tornado warning that's heading towards the China Grove area, it's sort of hidden behind these deep purple colors here. This is just a product of the radar at a distance that starts to it does a thing. Would be heading, if it still exists on the radar, but looking on the newer tornado warning, we do still have most of the rotation is to the north and slightly north, more east of Huntersville, about to cross into Cabarrus County, that northeastern portion. I'm going to pop over chat real quick that I've got pulled up from some people that are in UNC Charlotte. They're looking from a parking deck, and they're looking north. They haven't said if they've seen anything yet.
Are these your former classmates?
Yes, my former classmates and all trained spotters themselves. They were looking at the base of the storm earlier, and from a picture they sent, it looked like there was a slight bit of a lowering, but that would be indicative of a wall cloud, but not quite a tornado. This is a little bit old, but that was the earlier storm. Let's see if I can't share that picture real quick. I'll just have to swap around. I'll just share my entire screen. We'll get Infinity here for a moment. Oops. Okay.
I'll go ahead and take it for a second while you pull up that picture and kind of walk the people through. If again you are just joining us here at about 7:20, James and Kit with you live here, special edition of the Carolina Weather Group. We were watching a tornado warning. This is parts of Mecklenburg and Cabarrus and Rowan counties going until about 7:45 or so. We do have kind of two polygons that are on top of each other here because we had an initial warning for an area of rotation and then a second area of rotation making its way right now out of Huntersville. Kit was just telling us that he was speaking with some folks who are at UNCC and keeping an eye on this. So, Kit, they are seeing a little bit of rotation, you said?
Yes. All right. So Harrisburg, you see here, it is just west of Harrisburg. So they're looking from this perspective, as you can see in my mouse moving around here. So they're looking up at this rotation of these blues and greens embedded in the red. So that's the rotation, and we can pop over here. And you can see, or what I'm looking at right here is the very edge of a possible wall cloud. It's this little appendage that's dropping down. It's difficult to see possibly on your screen, but I'm looking at it at a weird angle on mine. The contrast just sort of does a thing.
Okay.
And I can sort of see there's a little bit of a hanging right here. Along this.
If you can leave that up for us for one more second, I'm going to try to zoom this in here for our viewers who are watching us. It's just going to take me just a moment to adjust what Kit is showing you here. But if I blow this up nice and big on your screen, there you go. Okay, so you're looking at that little bit of hanging there, and that's exactly probably what prompted that warning. Right.
So we've got this lower hanging here. It may continue as far. I can't tell how far it goes out, but just the way light is. But this appendage here of the cloud base is a potential wall cloud. This could be rotating. It's easier to tell when you have a video, but it's just a quick picture that my friend Cody sent. But this could be a potential wall cloud, and this is what is rotating. So it would be rotating sort of around the screen in this counterclockwise fashion here. You can sort of see where I'm indicating it. But from that wall cloud, you could see a small appendage extend down, and that would be a funnel cloud, and then potentially a tornado from that. So that is why we were watching this storm right now. We've got an update on those radar returns. They're not quite as close together as they were earlier. As Pam.
Yeah, well, you know where the radar indication is pretty close together, and we're going to come back to the Charlotte area storm kit in just a second, but I want to go back now to the eastern half of the state where we're watching a tornado warning. This is continuing for the next 8 minutes or so, but I suspect, looking at exactly what Kit has been describing for you, as you look just outside of Snow Hill here, you can kind of see with those winds, and we've got a new radar returner coming together, so I wouldn't be surprised if this tornado warning does get extended, but I didn't want to lose sight of this one as we were watching the greater Charlotte area one. So again, the National Weather Service is watching here a severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado located over Murray, or 8 miles south of Farmville, moving northeast at 35 miles per hour. So again, the main threat here is going to be the tornado. It could impact portions of Greenville, Grifton, Snow Hill, Murray, Roundtree, Lizzie, and so we're going to watch here to see if they continue. But again, not only are we seeing it with the winds, but we were talking about a little bit earlier, you can kind of start to see that couplet here on reflectivity radar, and we'll be watching for that as well too. So again, we are watching a tornado warning right now. This is in the eastern portion of North Carolina, just south of Murray. This is for counties that include Greene and Pitt, and also Lanier. And so this goes for another 8 minutes, but we'll wait to see if the National Weather Service does extend it. Right now we do have 2 active tornado warnings. It's this one and the one just north of Charlotte that we've been talking about. The one that was over the North Carolina foothills has been allowed to expire. I'm also noticing, Kit, as you're reviewing the radar here with us for this storm, what catches your eye? We may have lost Kit there for a moment, and I will double check.
There we go.
There we go. He's back.
I accidentally hit the mute button.
I was like, I didn't change anything on my side.
Well, we've got this significant hook echo. So looking from Maury straight down to Hookerton, you see this area of green, and you can follow the darker reds around this inverted triangle here. So this is what we've got, that hook echo signature, which is sort of the first indication that there's rotation within a thunderstorm that could be producing a tornado, especially in that southeast or southwestern portion of the storm where you've got that hook. That's typically where you would see a tornado. Looking over here on the velocities on the right-hand side, we've got these inbound winds of around, let's see if I can hide this. This is showing around 30 miles an hour towards the radar. This is showing around 25 to 30 miles an hour away from the radar. So you've got this large area of rotation. And whenever you get that really close here where you've got them connecting, if the grays continued between these maxima of winds, it wouldn't be as much of a concern. But since they're side by side, you have fast winds leaving and fast winds coming back towards the radar, so you can get very quick changes in the winds. That's what we call a shear, and that's what can produce a tornado possibly. And if I put on the normalized rotation, we've got these greens here, which it just whatever the algorithm is, the green is higher wind shear, higher rotation through the storm. So we can actually back this up and track it as it has gone through this area. And earlier it had a little bit more significant rotation, but it's definitely still rotating, still something we want to watch out for. The program has an algorithm that indicates that there should be rotation within the storm. As we go up through these scans, this is scanning higher and higher in the thunderstorm. This is close to the ground, around 3,500 feet. This is around a mile up, about a mile and a half. You can see that we've got these greens and reds right next to one another, all in the lower portions of the storm. So since it's rotating through the lower portions up through the mid and upper levels, you can sort of tell that there's a little bit of rotation still continuing. So it's sort of stacked within the storm of all this rotation. So it will be very easy for a long column of rotating air to extend to the ground, potentially producing a tornado. Again, just south of Maury, north of Hookerton, here in eastern North Carolina. This is heading towards the area of Ayden and Winterville. This is far south of Greenville, North Carolina, in Pitt County. That's the direction it will be crossing from Greene County into Pitt County in the next 10 to 15 minutes, I would say. It's going a little bit slower than some of the other storms we see here. It's moving northeast at around 35 miles an hour. So it's not quite as fast moving. So this gives you a little bit more lead time on preparing for this storm and getting to a safe place within your house. If you do not have a basement is probably the best place to go. If you don't have a basement, a good spot to go would be an interior closet, such as a closet underneath a stairwell. If you have an interior bathroom, that's a good place. One of the things that we say is, like, if you don't have any interior things, go into the bathroom and sit in the tub. Usually in a tub, you've got a bathtub, you've got pipes in the walls all around you that provide just that extra bit of security from the storm, from the winds. So it'll be a stronger structure in the bathroom, in the bathtub, or especially under a stairwell, and obviously if you're beneath the ground level in a basement. Those are the safest spots to be. So those are the areas you should head to if you're around the areas of far eastern Greene County or south and western Pitt County right now.
Yeah, and we're still going to wait here as we come up on 7:30 to find out whether or not the National Weather Service is going to extend this tornado warning. This is the one that Kit was just telling you about as it makes its way towards Greenville. I've widened out my radar to kind of set the scene for you here as we come up at 7:30. So over my right shoulder, we have Charlotte, and we're going to talk about this severe thunderstorm warning and predominantly the tornado warning in just a second. But I wanted to set the scene for everyone in between to let you know we are still watching some other thunderstorms in other portions of the state. So we were talking earlier about the training of thunderstorms coming over the same place over and over and over again, and we start to get some flooding like we were seeing earlier in Raleigh. I wouldn't be surprised if we start to see some of that back towards Fort Bragg and Fayetteville, because we have yet more thunderstorms coming through, and we do have a severe thunderstorm warning. That means quarter-size hail damaging 60-mile-per-hour winds. We don't want to make light of these severe thunderstorm warnings, but with all else going on right now, of course, our attention is focused towards these tornado warnings. So again, as we come up at 7:30, that is when that storm is set to expire. We will see whether or not the National Weather Service chooses to extend it. They haven't yet, but what I do want to do is push back into the Charlotte area, because as Kit was talking, I was watching the rotation of that Charlotte storm. We're actually also getting reports in from folks on the ground that they might be seeing some of this rotation, just like Kit's colleagues were seeing at UNCC. We do have a report from a storm spotter who is up near the Charlotte Motor Speedway who says he's seeing a little bit of rotation there in the clouds in Cabarrus County. So bear with me here. As I go ahead and I zoom in the radar in back behind us, I can also tell you that the tornado warning for Greene and Pitt that we were talking about out towards Greenville has been extended. So we'll get a look at that extended polygon in just a second with Kit. But before I switch away from that, I did want to talk about where we were seeing this area of rotation in this tornado-warned cell as it makes its way just north of Concord through the areas of Kannapolis and eventually onto areas including Rockwell, Granite, Quarry, and Salisbury. We do have a tornado warning that is out here, and what was particularly catching my eye was we were starting to see a little bit of that rotation again on radar, and you can kind of see it not so well here on the Raleigh radar, but if I go ahead and I switch to the Columbia radar, and it actually will just pop down for just a moment towards my location, I was watching, and you're going to see it here with me as the loop begins to load. We do have a little bit of, there it is, that little bit of that hot spot kind of rolling on through, and that is exactly the rotation we're watching for here with this tornado-warned cell as we look at it over the last 20 to 30 minutes or so, coming out of Huntersville, just to the north there of 485, kind of crossing where 485 and 77 come together. You see this hot spot right in here just north of 485, where that area with all the interchanges are, about 6 roundabouts or so. I wouldn't be surprised if we were kind of talking about that area here, and now we're watching for this to kind of continue to make its way up towards Interstate 85 in a warning that does continue for at least another 13 minutes or so. But Kit, I know we have had an extension of that tornado warning back out towards Greenville, and I was wondering if you had a chance to look at the extended polygon.
I do. It includes Winterville, Ayton, and Simpson. So this dives just south of Greenville. It does not include any of the US 264 highway. That's the loop highway that goes around Greenville. It does not include any of that, but mostly south central Pitt County is included. But I do want to pan to the south and east a little bit. And this one here in Cumberland County, this is currently only severe thunderstorm warned, but we do see some significant rotation with this storm. We've got that classic hook echo that's fairly well pronounced. We look at the general rotation of the storm. It is pretty high as some of the earlier storms, like the one that's heading into Pitt County right now. This is possibly going to be seeing a tornado warning as it enters, what county is this here? As it enters Sampson County. I would keep an eye on that. It is not official yet, but areas to the northwest of Clinton and like Van Crossroads, Newton Grove, there may be a tornado warning in the next 5 or 10 minutes. That's not confirmed. That's just what I'm looking at. So just keeping that in mind. But for what is warned currently, we do still have this tornado warning for this thunderstorm heading towards Ayton County. So we've started to see it sort of diverge a little bit. We see these gray, low return, low velocities here. So it's possibly starting to broaden as I'm looking over here at this storm. It started to get sort of another thunderstorm just to the south of the rotation, which can sometimes choke out the thunderstorm itself from rotating. And sometimes it can recycle and clear out, get another spin up going, but currently it does still have that tornado warning, so we're going to keep an eye on that. So I'm going to swap around to the Charlotte area.
Yeah, and I actually have it up here on the screen because I'm going to need you to probably reinitiate that screen share you had for us, Kit, as I was showing people some of the things you were talking about there on my radar scope. Not a problem at all. We were following along with you just fine. One of the things I wanted to clear up for anyone who may be playing along at home is the National Weather Service is telling us, and I'm glad they're doing this, we did have multiple bulletins on top of one another here in the North Charlotte area because we did have several areas of rotation that came on through after a tornado warning, after a severe thunderstorm warning, so we had yellows and reds and all sorts of things on top of each other. They have let those initial ones expire, but we do still have a tornado warning active here north of Charlotte, and this is again continuing for the next, as you can see, 10 minutes or so. So we're going to be watching for that, but I wanted to let anybody know who may be seeing that a tornado warning has expired. That was an older one. We still do have one right now that we're watching from Concord up towards Salisbury and that I-85 corridor. I think Kit has his screen share back up, so I'll go ahead and flip it back over to him as I preface by saying that it appears... Well, now I'm getting confused, so I'm going to just hold my tongue there for a second and see what some of these polygons do. And I think Kit's looking at the same message himself in National Weather Service chat that I have seen.
I haven't pulled it up yet,
I see that they canceled the tornado warning, but now I'm not sure which it was. So until we know otherwise, we still have a very strong and possibly dangerous severe thunderstorm making its way towards North Charlotte. And Kit's got his radar back out. Is this
yes,
that Greenville Metro one?
Yes, so the Greenville metro area still has this, or has been continued until, looks like 8 o'clock p.m. Yes, until 8 o'clock. It's moving to the east, almost due east at around 30 miles an hour. The hazard would be a tornado here. That we see that. So this is central Greene County. You can see that east central Greene County and south central Pitt County. Is what we're looking at right now. So this is just south of Greenville. The Highway 264 loop highway is not included in the warning. Most of it is, let's see here, this is State Highway 11 from Winterville through Ayden, almost to Grifton, is the first area that would be in the path of a potential tornado right now. Moving eventually to the Highway 43 corridor to the southeast of Greenville. Looking at these radar velocity returns, there's still sort of a broad rotation. It's not quite as well defined as it was earlier, but that isn't to say that there's no rotation. We see here on the rotation parameter that there's still a significant amount of rotation with this thunderstorm. Now I'm going to back out of this one a little bit, and you can put a couple of loops in here. And we see earlier, this is where we had a very well-defined tornado signature. And there's nothing to the south here. You see this around the LaGrange area. Another thunderstorm complex sort of grew, and this may potentially start to try to choke off the tornado. So it would be right around in this area. And you can see these green colors. This is that inflow to the mesocyclone, to the rotating thunderstorm. So this may eventually be choked off by this growing thunderstorm to the south, and may cancel this tornado warning a little bit earlier. But I'm going to pan over here just to the south and south and west a little bit and show this supercell thunderstorm that has developed within the past hour or so. That is currently a severe thunderstorm warning. Wind gusts moving around 25 miles per hour. This is for, if I can find it, here we go, northwestern Sampson and northeastern Cumberland counties. This goes until, I don't see the time it goes until, but 8 p.m. It goes until 8 o'clock p.m. here. This is currently only a severe thunderstorm warning, but it could potentially produce a tornado. When looking at here over on the rotation parameter, is we do see these greens, which is starting to say that it is a rotating thunderstorm still. Put back on the velocities real quick. You can see the large rotation within the thunderstorm, and we've got a very well-defined hook echo with this thunderstorm as well. This could be a false warning, and we won't see any tornado with it. But as of yet, there hasn't been a tornado warning issued. But this severe thunderstorm warning will be impacting areas like Spivey's Corner, Van Crossroads. Areas around Autryville are seeing the very tail end of this thunderstorm. Stedman probably just got a good batch of rain come through, but very briefly will the rain be existing. But this would be the area, if we had any spotters in Stedman, this would be where we would be looking for any reports of a potential wall cloud with this thunderstorm. Just because it doesn't have that tornado warning, but it's too classic of a signature to ignore for this time. So keeping that in mind, I'm going to ignore it for the moment and go back to the one that currently does have the tornado warning. And it looks like it sort of started to reorganize a little bit more with these radar returns close together once again. You can put the rotation parameter. We see that it's still got good rotation with it. So this could still be producing a tornado. This goes until 8 o'clock p.m. here. It's issued by the Raleigh service. This is tracking almost due east towards the Aden area. I'm going to pop this off.
Has our particular area of interest shifted a little within that same polygon? Are we seeing
a little bit? It's sort of
as it reorganizes.
Kind of. It looks like it's starting to reorganize. That newest scan sort of falls apart a little bit, but it's a mess. That's the clinical term.
Yes, that's the official clinical term. Matter of fact, that is probably a good opportunity for me to just switch back over here for just a second, because I want to do a little bit of a scene setter. So the tornado warning that we are looking at, again, is just south of Greenville. This is the only active tornado warning we have right now, and it goes until 8 o'clock. Kit has mentioned multiple times, and as we all appreciate, he's watching this severe thunderstorm warning that is to the east of Fayetteville, because he's seeing a little rotation with that, so we want to kind of see what that one's going to do. We have Kirsten who's watching online. She was asking about Fort Bragg. We have no warnings for Fort Bragg right now, but we have plenty of rain, so I would be advised to keep an eye on that, especially if you're traveling or trying to go out for this holiday weekend. You may want to delay your departure a short bit. I will confirm what we were speculating a little bit earlier. We no longer have any warnings, no tornado warnings in the Charlotte area. That rotation has weakened, so they have dropped that tornado warning, but we do have an aerial flood advisory, just like we have in several other places, because we have all of this rain that has been making its way across the region with some more rain back behind it. Matter of fact, if I switch over to another radar source, I don't want to get you confused here as you look back off towards the mountains. This is actually just no data. We do have more storms isolated, but back behind that. So we will watch for that to kind of make its way through and watch for that continued rain threat, because even if you live in an area where you don't get any of this wind damage, we've had reports of it in Charlotte and Raleigh and other places, but even if you don't see any downed trees, you may begin to see the pooling of some water. We are watching for another tornado warning for Robinson County. This is Red Springs to Parkton. The National Weather Service is going to be issuing that here in just a short minute as we allow Kit to find those exact locations on the radar. I wouldn't be surprised if it was somewhere in the neck of the woods that we're already watching.
Well, this is Sampson County that I'm looking at right now, so I'm trying to figure out where Robinson County is.
We try, but there are a lot of counties. So please, if you're watching from Robinson County, don't take it personally.
The highlights of so there's 100 counties in North Carolina. I know about 40, and they're not all in the same spot. So, but I do recognize Robinson County, so I'm trying to figure out where that might be.
We'll find it.
I think this might be it here around Red Springs, possibly.
Yeah, Red Springs to Parkton is where we're going to have a polygon coming out there in just a second. I'm sorry, let me go ahead and punch you up on the screen. They're still looking at me there at home. So tell us a little bit of where we are again. We're kind of out towards the coast. Yeah, because there's Lumberton.
Oh, Robeson. Okay, Robeson County here. We've got, I might have to switch the radar. Let me just pop around real quick. So I'll just keep that up for the time being, but I'm going to switch over to the Wilmington radar, because I believe they're the ones who issue the warnings for Robeson County.
Yeah, I think you're correct.
This is the Lumberton area. Not quite in Lumberton, but like I said, in the area of Lumberton, that county. Let's see if I can switch over.
And we don't have it yet on the screen. So if you're looking for it on the screen, trying to figure out what we're talking about, it's not there yet. We're just giving you a preliminary heads up that we are expecting a tornado warning here to be issued momentarily.
Right. All right, so I've got, are you seeing me scroll around there, James?
Yeah, I've got you. Go ahead.
All right, very nice. Just wanted to make sure that I shared the proper screen here. But looking around, I said Robeson County. Let's put on county names. All right, so this county here that I'm sort of outlining in a very messy fashion, this is Robeson County around Lumberton. So this... just to the southwest of McDonald, that looks to be a bit of an updraft signature almost. So not quite rotation. This here, far northern, did they include Cumberland County in that statement, James?
It is not officially out yet, so we will find out together.
Okay.
We'll hang tight so we don't get too far ahead of ourselves. But again, this is is that I-95 I'm seeing come through there as well?
Yes, this is Interstate 95 right here.
Okay. Holiday weekend,
so
keeping a close eye on that as well. You know, it's I keep thinking if we get any warnings south of the county, the state border, excuse me, into South Carolina, then I've got DOT cameras I can pop up for you and show you real-time video. But North Carolina does not provide those for free on the internet, other than still pictures. So maybe we'll see if we've got something out of the Lumberton area. But again, if you are anywhere in this Fayetteville area, we are watching. This is still really, I guess, depending on how you count this, this first line. This is still the first line of storms. Right?
This is. It definitely is the very first line of thunderstorms. And we're expecting, at this point, really only two to be severe. The second line is basically crossing over the 77-85 corridors. The third line would be back towards the foothills right now, but it will possibly fall apart before it makes its way to the area.
We still have those tornado watches that are in effect from Charlotte to Raleigh. That first line came through. It had plenty of energy in the atmosphere. The question was what was then going to become of the second line. As we've seen, we've had a few areas of spin-up rotation in the foothills and near Charlotte, so that's why that watch has been left in place. But I think, as Kit was just alluding to, with each passing line, it's burning up more fuel in the atmosphere, and as the hours wear on and the sun goes down, heat is a big component of that. So, I would expect that while this isn't over yet, it will begin to quiet down here. Knock on wood. I need to find some wood to walk on.
Exactly. I'm trying trying to pull up the MOS chat.
Yeah, I still don't have that tornado warning just yet. So we will wait to see. Again,
the ILM chat.
It is. It's the Wilmington chat. They gave us a heads up. They were looking to issue a warning. They have not issued a warning yet. We think it's going to be somewhere in here. But to Kit's point, we're also still watching this guy, who is a severe thunderstorm warning, and he is just a severe thunderstorm warning. Again, don't want to make light of that. That is damaging hail and damaging winds, but it is not a tornado warning per se. But it does look like, well, I was going to say it looks like it's weakened there on the right side of your screen, but I think that's really just bad data because it still looks fairly decent on the left side of your screen.
Right. I'm going to stop sharing for the moment and pop over here.
That's Kit's face, everybody. That's what Kit looks like.
Hello. I have been worn tired from television. That's right. Yeah.
And that's where I'm sitting. Secrets out.
Woo. All right. So this is from the Raleigh radar. It looks a little bit better.
Okay. We got a little bit better data coming in there.
Right. So I've got the red square at the center of the area of rotation. We've got this significant hook echo. We've got, let's see here, if I pop over here, liquid, it doesn't look like there's much threat for severe hail with this one. We've got this indicator here of around 0.6 of an inch for hail. So hail would not be the predominant factor here, but this radar velocity is 60 miles an hour. So with the heavy rain, it could bring down some strong winds with that are possible. But again, another part of a tornado, or a severe thunderstorm warning is a potential for tornado threat. And we can see if we read through this, scanning quickly, the hazard is 60-mile-an-hour wind gusts, and this is all radar indicated. So just like what we are looking at of radar indicated rotation of the storm, it's a classic supercell, but it does not mean that it has a tornado with it just yet. I'm going to do a quick thing because I just want to check something out.
Sure, I'll do a little. Oh, you're good to go, or do you need me to stall?
I'm good to go and chat about it, but just trying to see. All right, so it looks like we've got sort of that overhang there. So, we've got this.
Can you tell us a little bit about what we're looking at?
Yes. So this is sort of a cross section of the thunderstorm. My thing is talking to me in my ear, and I can't think straight. But this is the same thunderstorm we were looking at over here. But what I've got done here is I've taken sort of a cross section through the hook there, and whenever you're looking for tornadic development, if you take a cross section, if you see a little bit of an overhang, this little overhang indicates that there's quite a bit of inflow through the storm. So you've got heavy rain potential here in this 10 to 20,000 range, but below that, you don't see as much rain. So this is a weak echo region, and this could indicate that there's strong inflow to the storm that could bring down a tornado. So that's what I was looking at there. That's not what I want to do.
While you're transitioning there, Kit, and thank you for showing us that cross-section there as we're looking at the different layers of the atmosphere, I flipped my radar back over to Greenville. We are just south. We're continuing to watch this tornado warning. We are watching right now this area of rotation, and if I lean back here, you can kind of see it's right where these greens and these reds and these pinks come together. It's those two different shades of colors coming together here where we see that rotation. We are just getting a storm report in. This is from a member of the public who is reporting this via the National Weather Service in Aden, in Pitt County, that at 7:45, some about 5 minutes or so, they did see a funnel cloud near North Carolina 903. So that kind of does coincide with what we're seeing here on radar, which is nice. Going back to what we were talking about earlier, we have radar, we have eyes on the ground. We want to put those stories together, all that evidence, and try to make a coherent picture out of it. So we are still watching just south of Greenville here this tornado warning, which continues for at least the next 9 minutes. I still haven't seen that
Yeah,
other
so
tornado
cool.
warning, by the way. That one that we were told was coming.
Yeah, I'm looking at that. They've got an area forecast discussion out, but not
Okay.
a tornado warning. So maybe we'll see it after that. And then,
I'm glad you looked. I maybe thought, well, maybe I read this wrong. We got something coming out in the Charlotte area because I can hear radios going off, but that is a flash flood warning that I will read off real quickly because we do have that tornado warning coming in for the coastal community. Yeah, I'm just seeing it coming out of Wilmington chat right now. But while we look for that data,
yeah, they said they continued it, but I'm like, how do you continue what hasn't been issued? But okay,
yeah.
We might be seeing a tornado warning come out here.
I'll give you half a second to look at that, but
few
what I also want to show folks, and it hasn't shown up on my screen yet either, we do have a flash flood warning back here in the Charlotte area. I know many of you are watching from the Charlotte area, so I want to let you know about this. This is that north side of town where we had all of those warnings come on through before. So this goes until 10:15. This includes Cabarrus, Iredale, Mecklenburg, and Rowan, because as we've been telling you about, lots of thunderstorms came on through. 2 to 3 inches of rain fell since 6 o'clock alone. So that's roughly that much rain that is now trying to flow its way down the street into creeks, into canals, and get out of the area. So if you are heading out on the area roadways, we do have a flash flood warning that is in effect here for the northern part of the Charlotte metro area where we had some of those storms coming through before. Let's go back over to Kit. I know he's been watching our eastern half of the North Carolina area, and as we've been telling you about, we were waiting for a tornado warning to come on out. Kit, do you have it up? Is it coming into your system yet?
Not quite yet. I'm still looking around at it, and
Okay.
hasn't quite made its way through the radar program.
Yeah, so what I'm going to do real fast is I'm going to, as we're still looking up here at my screen, is I'm going to slide my radar out and I'm going to hand draw this. Actually, no, I'm actually seeing it on my screen
Well
right
seen. I've got a severe thunderstorm warning issued for the area.
Yeah.
This is the same storm that they were looking at earlier for. It's got that rotation here around Cumberland and Fayetteville. This storm looks almost like it's closing in. Let's see if I can.
Yeah, it's almost it's coming up behind some of these other storms.
Right. It's
You could
so if I zoom out a little bit more here, let's turn off the county names, less clutter. But it's almost become a double first line. It's sort of split its own self into two separate lines. We've got the backside. We've got you have a tornado warning, you said?
Yeah, so I have it up on my screen right now, and to echo the point you were just talking about, we do kind of have what is no longer one coherent line of storms. You know, we had this kind of edge of the first line that kind of juxtapositioned down into this was really still this first wave of storms. But let's forget the technicality and just get down to the warnings here in a second. So this is that first tornado warning that Kit has been telling you about, where we had just the tornado warning, just the severe thunderstorm warning, not the tornado warning, but we were watching that area of rotation. So this is for just south of Plainview and north of Clinton. And then what we're also watching, and this is a new severe thunderstorm warning, this is Fayetteville, and this is Hope Mills. This covers a pretty good amount of real estate, especially when you put these two warnings together from these two different storms. That tornado warning that we've been anxiously waiting just outside of Red Springs is finally up, and it's right now directly over Rex. And so if I push on in, you can kind of see what is also a fairly typical location for a tornado. You know, we were talking before, and Kit, I think, has it up on his screen. You can kind of see that we have this little kind of hook thing going on, but we can also get them in these little bows. And so you can see as I push in here, this is just outside the city of Rex in North Carolina, and it's north of Lumberton and south of Fayetteville. We have this little cup here, and where my hand is, and that is exactly where we're seeing the winds come together as well, too. So we're watching that. We do have a small tornado warning here once again. This is in effect for the next 19 minutes or so, and I was going to rattle off the counties. It is just for Robinson. Outside of that actual tornado threat, we do once again have a kind of a wide area of severe thunderstorm warning that we are watching, which is also worth noting because you're going to get not only all of this heavy rain, which has prompted this flash flood warning that is now up, and we still have more rain coming on in, but we also have these yellow boxes, which are severe thunderstorm warnings warning, so quarter-size hail, 60-mile-per-hour winds. Yet again, I wouldn't be surprised if we continue to see reports of downed trees because we have heavy winds coming on through. We have saturated grounds, and when you put those two together, you've got a bunch of trees that are essentially standing in mud. So we will wait to see exactly what happens there. So we have Kit with us, who is monitoring all this as well as we come up on the 8 o'clock hour. James and Kit with you here on the Carolina Weather Group, as we keep a close eye on all that is happening right now across North Carolina and in portions of South Carolina as well. We do have active 2 tornado warnings here, and we'll see exactly what happens at 8 o'clock. Kit may be on mute.
Yes, I was.
There we go.
Were you earlier mentioning the tornado warning that, or excuse me, the flash flood warning for northern Mecklenburg, Cabarrus? Okay. Well, just to the south and east of that, I'm looking at a little bit of rotation. Let's see if I can't get my screen to share. Boom. I'll just share the entire screen. Brief moment of infinity. And all right. I'm looking right here northeast of Mount Holly. I haven't looked at the reflectivity. It doesn't quite have that signature of a hook echo, but potential for a little bit of rotation with that storm heading towards the Huntersville area once again. Let's see if I can't look at this. This is just going to be something real quick. Looks like a little bit of good shear with the storm, putting back on the velocities. You can see these green inbounds and those pink outbounds. Granted, this is, like earlier we were mentioning, about 1.5 miles up, so it would need to be very well organized for this to potentially be a, as I'm trying to read 5 different things, it would take some surface analysis and possible spotter report to confirm if this would even have a wall cloud with it, or possibly a tornado as well. I'm going to zoom out a little bit, and it looks like several counties have been canceled from the tornado watch. So as I look at this, it looks like areas around around Raleigh, the Raleigh metro area has been canceled for the tornado watch. It looks like Troy, Asheboro, High Point, Lexington, Siler City, Sanford, Dunn. Dunn has been canceled from the watch, but there are still several strong storms around that area. But Durham and the Research Triangle area, Greensboro, they have all been canceled from the current tornado watch. But the Charlotte metro area still has the tornado watch in effect. So that's like Gaston, Mecklenburg, Cabarrus, Rowan, Davies.
That's a funny little shape they've made there. But I think it goes back to what we were talking about before, where you at the bottom of line 1 down there kind of have those storms that are still kicking up nice near Fayetteville and down towards Lumberton as Kit moves his radar down there. We can see so everything. I'm going to paint this picture here too, as Kit just was. Again, those red polygons, which are disappearing literally as we're speaking, are tornado warnings. And is that a new tornado warning?
No, this. All right. In this program, red. I need to change this.
Red is a severe thunderstorm warning.
Severe thunderstorm warning. Pink would be the tornado warning.
If you've never watched our show before, you should find the show where we talk about the importance of matching colors. Otherwise, you may end up in a situation like me, where I was like, I don't remember there being one there. So Fayetteville has a severe thunderstorm warning.
Correct.
Not a tornado warning.
My other program crashed, so I had to switch.
Okay, that is fine, and I apologize for making the color assumption here. But what the point that Kit was trying to drive home was that everything inside that purple box is where the watch continues. So little Weather 101 for you here as we come up in the 8 o'clock hour. Watch means we are watching for severe weather. The potential is there. That's why they issue it as a heads up. They sometimes issue that heads up hours in advance. Warning is it is imminent. It is happening now. It's going to be happening within minutes if it's not happening already. So take shelter, put your plan into action. And so that is what we're watching here. We have several reasons why that watch box is getting smaller. We talked about it a little bit. These storms are soaking up the energy that was in the atmosphere. We had a lot of energy today. The sun is also going down. We're losing some of that momentum for some of these storms. Those green things that Kit has up on his screen are those flash flood warnings from all of that rain that has been falling.
For some reason, green is always, no matter where you look, green is always flooding.
Well, that's good. I'm glad I got that right.
Severe thunderstorm and tornado warnings that always get confused because some people think, oh, it needs to be purple, but anyway,
it's not Kit's fault because I don't want to name names, but even the National Weather Service's Twitter account seems to be color confused sometimes. So,
well, on Twitter they put everything as red as, and I understand, and to a certain extent, yes, I've heard an argument made that in a warning situation, it should be red, and the text should indicate what kind of red. So it's red, it's warning. Oh no, what is it for? It's for flooding. Oh, it's red. What is it for? It's for a tornado. So to that extent, I can understand that.
Well,
but
I'm going to go ahead and confuse everybody else. If you're still with us at 8 o'clock and not super confused already, I'm going to pop up some colors behind me as well. This is a different map. This is Duke Energy power outages, and if our friend Shay is watching from Charleston, South Carolina, he wasn't going to let me sign off tonight without actually showing this to you. So what we have right here is Duke Energy customers. I do note that there are power companies out there that other than Duke, but they kind of are the largest, and we're going to use them as our sample size, are reporting right now some power outages across the area. So bear with me. We're going to click on some of these all together here. The Charlotte-Mecklenburg area, they have about 2,000 customers right now without power as we make our way up towards Catawba County. We have about 1,000 customers without power. Well, let's talk about Raleigh. Let's talk about Wake County. We have 5,000 customers right now without power who may not see their power back until about midnight or so. And the Greensboro, the area right now, that metropolitan area, about 3,200. The other area right now that is yellow on the map behind me is this is Davidson County, about 2,000 customers there as well too. So I'm sure those crews are out working hard to try to get everyone back online as soon as possible, but with all those storms that are still active out there, I wouldn't be surprised if later on we see continuing outages in some places. They work to get everyone back online safely. Their work could certainly be interrupted by more storms coming rolling on through. It is 8 o'clock. Thanks for joining us.
The tornado warning for Robeson County has been canceled.
So at 8:04, I think we may be, for the moment, tornado warning free.
Currently.
That is good news. And as Kate was showing you a moment ago, that watch box is getting smaller and smaller and smaller. So a couple things I will note at this moment while we wait to see exactly what may happen next. You know, we were expecting this to possibly happen today. This is all energy that is kind of left over from Harvey as he makes his way inland, kind of just as a low at this point. He's
I completely forgot that's what it was.
Yeah, Harvey is
So much going on.
So much is going on. The low pressure that is Harvey, or what is remnants of Harvey at this point, is kind of making its way out of northern Tennessee. And so, if you do recall from your science classes or just watching your TV weatherman on TV. One of the things that these low pressure systems do is they kind of spin and then they kind of push off some energy, and so that's exactly what was going on today, and that's why the Storm Prediction Center, which is an arm of the National Weather Service, issued us a 3 out of 5 chance of seeing severe weather. This was that enhanced chance of seeing severe weather, and that is exactly why we were monitoring the weather today with you all day long on social media and our website, and Kid and I have personally been here since just after the 6 o'clock hour, so we're coming up on about 2 hours of this anchored coverage, and we thank everybody that's been with us so far. There is lots happening out there in the weather world, and so we hope you find it at CarolinaWeatherGroup.com, where you can look at those Storm Prediction Center outlooks. You can get real-time alerts from North and South Carolina. And, of course, we are with you every Wednesday night at 8 o'clock with our show of the week. Although I will note, and this is just a good programming note, that our show will be kicking off starting in September at 8:15 Eastern Time. So just you have an extra few minutes to track down the popcorn and the beverage of your choice, and then join us live on Facebook, YouTube, and Periscope, or, of course, replay at any time, including on the iTunes Podcast Store or the Google Play Store. So with that, Kit, are we calling a timeout ourselves?
Well, I can look around here, and this program is not working. So I've got the infrared satellite, and we can see all of the moisture that has been lofted into the upper atmosphere. So these darker red to gray, these white colors indicate very, very high cloud tops. So big thunderstorms being produced by this, but if this thing will scroll out, we can sort of see, like you were talking about, James, this is the very last little bit of Harvey. I can turn that off real quick. So the center of the low pressure would probably be around here. If I can pop over here, might be able to put on a contour for. It's not really wanting to do it, but yeah.
I could put you behind my green screen, and I can point at it, I guess.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, give me 1 second. I don't have that currently programmed up, but I can do that fairly easily.
Mm-hmm.
And
I can scooch it over to the right
perfect.
side. And
Here we go. He's going to drive.
Whoa,
he's going to drive this from far away. So whoa, we've tilted. All right. So what he's talking about is we were talking about the leftover energy of Harvey there. So if we could just hold still 1 second, so I can put my hand in one place.
There you go.
The computer's like, I'm done. It is 8 o'clock on a Friday before Labor Day. I am done. Does this
Trying to get it all look right.
This does kind of animate, doesn't it? Slowly.
Yeah, I'm trying to increase it, but let's see here. Oh, it's going to disappear.
You may just have to join us for another week for the explanation of lows.
Exactly. But it's interesting.
By the way, Harvey's over here.
Bloom.
And he's rotating very slowly. It's not Harvey. It's not Hurricane Harvey. It is a low-pressure system. It is the...
I think I just cut you.
Oh,
hi.
Well, hi.
Yeah.
This is... Good Kit. Good Kit.
Try to
there we go. Okay.
Quick switch and change over.
So, and actually, what I will point out, and this is like what we were talking about before, so this purple here was the size of the initial severe thunderstorm or tornado watch, and it has begun to shrink down. Let me fix that. There we go. Much better. All right, so here's what I'd like to do. I think we are going to step away. We will continue to leave radar and bulletins on the screen for you. We encourage you to follow us on Facebook, on YouTube, on Periscope, on your favorite Google Play or iTunes podcast store. You have lots of options. We invite you to do follow us. We are going to step away. We're going to leave the radar up. We're going to leave the bulletin scrolling on the screen so that you can continue to watch the severe weather as it rolls through your neck of the woods. Does that work for you, Kit? Speak now, if ever hold your peace.
That works fine with me.
Okay, one thing I am going to do before I step away, this is just because we had a moment here, and I'm going to do a little short behind the scenes. I'm going to pop myself back up nice and full. Yeah, so clearly that's fake. That's not a real background. I have a green soda can that I picked up before to take a swig of, and I realized it was disappearing, and I just wanted to share that with you at home because... that's how green screens work. It's also the reason why I had to change my shirt before we sat down.
Well, that would be a interesting thing. If you look over here on my left
floating
shoulder,
head.
you can see.
Just like the can makes me disappear in certain spots, I had a bluish greenish shirt on, and it didn't like that. So, all right. Well, thank you very much for everybody who has been hanging out with us. Hopefully, we gave you some helpful information, or let you know to tune into your local broadcast meteorologist who are watching these on a street level perspective for you. I'm Kit. I'm Kit. I'm James. He's Kit.
I'm James.
And clearly it is time for all of us to go and kick off a holiday weekend. So please do be safe out there on the roads. Do stay weather aware if you are traveling tonight. And we hope to see you with us Wednesday night at 8:15 p.m. Eastern Time for the next edition of the Carolina Weather Group, or sooner if weather warrants. So with that, I will say goodnight. Kit, good talking with you. Thanks for hanging out.
Good night. Thank you for inviting.
And we'll see you next time weather hits in the Carolinas.